welcome back to Kanika's Corner and to my mental health space. Today I'm talking about, the way we physically look and how it can have so much of an impact on who we are, how we are, and what happens to us. So physical beauty is not very important to us as a family, but I've also been told that's because we have these natural good-looking genes and therefore we don't have to worry about looks. But isn't beauty in the eye of the beholder? Isn't it about how we perceive ourselves and therefore, we can get bothered by what others say about that? Isn't it because of all of this that we have all of these slimming clinics that are cropping up everywhere, all of these beauty products, all of it that has just overtaken the market because we are not happy with ourselves and we want to change it. And the good looks that we are naturally given, we feel like it's not enough, we have to do something more, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So I'm talking about all of this from my experience. I was quite a chubby toddler and continued to be chubby into my childhood. And I was tall for my age. So what happened in kindergarten class, we were all asked, assembly was always in height order. And I was always at the back of the line. And so, the few times I would go up to my teacher and say, ma'am, can I stand in front, please? I was just a child who wanted to explore how it felt, standing in a different place. And every single time I was told, no, go back and stand in the line. It made me feel very sad that, all I wanted to do was stand in front. And because I was tall, I was asked to stand behind all the time. Ironically, by the time we reached 10th standard, I was one of the shortest and I did get to experience what it felt, standing in the front of the line. But these are these small incidences that have such a huge impact on you and make you so aware of, your physical traits, and whether we like it or not, we put in a lot of importance on that. I started my periods at the age of 9.5, which meant that by the time I was 11, I was fully physically mature. I had grown to my final height. I had breasts, I had a curvy figure, and I was absolutely standing out amongst all my classmates who were still flat as boards at that point and, still in the childish phase of their physical attributes. So to me, that being the odd one out sort of started happening that early. Thanks to my family genes, I have fairer skin, and let me tell you, for those of you who yearn for having fair skin, the grass is not greener on the other side. I was mercilessly teased in high school for my skin, which I have no control over. I was called Billy Jirle, white cockroach, or Halli, which is a lizard, and constantly taunted about it. And as a very impressionable young teenager who we'd never been told that skin was important, color of skin, the hair, none of that was important to us. But here in school I was being told, you are odd, your skin is an odd color. If you have a physical attribute that is odd, it means you as a whole person are odd, and therefore you should think of yourself as outstanding and not to be part of a group. So my normality was, I am odd, there's something wrong about me, and that's who I became in school. You can imagine what it did to my self-confidence, right? It went to below zero. I started to wear baggy clothes. Usually I'd have a sweater on over my school uniform, didn't bother about getting dressed up, and it all has a long-term impact that you don't realize at that point. As I progressed through college, there were some positive changes in me. I joined NCC, the National Cadet Corps, and I absolutely love the physical activity and discipline of that organization. One of the good things that happened was I became slim and trim because of all the marching and the boot camps that we had, and I felt really energetic. So there was this love of exercising and wanting to be active that came about because of my NCC days in college. The other thing that I think happened was that though I was physically feeling nicer about myself, I wasn't confident about how I looked. I think years of, it being drummed in that I'm an odd person, that, I stand out because of my looks, made me still feel like I'm not happy with my body. And, there would be times when I would look into the mirror and not see myself for who I was or how I looked, but more I would always feel like, I'm rounder. My arms are fat, or my thigh is fat, or my bum is sticking out a little too much, my stomach is not flat. All of these little things would become bigger things for me, and so I didn't want to look into mirrors because there was this taunting image that was coming back to me. And so what did I do? I said, I don't like myself. Is there something that I can do to change it? And if yes, let's start. That's what's happened. So the changes that I made were twofold. One, through my NCC days, I'd learned that I love physical activity and exercise. So I would do a 8-10 kilometer run every morning. The other thing that I started to do was regulating my diet. Not dieting, but seeing what am I eating, what should I change, and how can I make it a lifestyle change. Now, what happened with both of those things was that I started to become more toned. I started to, get a little fitter. Of course, there were periods when I gained a lot of weight, and then I would go back into how can I lose that weight, because I hated looking at myself. But overall, I was in the space of there are changes that I can make, and let me do that. By my mid-20s, I started to lose a lot of hair. Thanks to family genetics and PCOD, bald patches started to show. I tried everything. My mother being a doctor meant that, I had access to various medical communities. So we went through hair serum treatments, of course, all the home remedies, even went through a hair transplant, and we went all the way to Pune from Bangalore for it. All to no avail. As you can see, my hair is what it is. And, it was in my early 30s that I started realizing I can't make any more changes to it. I've tried everything. The only change that I can now make is to accept it. And if I change the way I am feeling about it, that is when everyone around me will, feel differently about it too. And actually this change started, I would say in my mid-20s, when someone walked up to me and said, "Are you recovering from cancer? Is that why your hair is so little?" I was a little taken aback. I was like, no, I haven't. And that's such an odd question. But for that lady, the only reason for sparse hair in a young girl was that she had recovered from chemotherapy. That got me thinking, am I not being ungrateful for all the good qualities that I have, for, what all I have been blessed with, by thinking about all of these perceptions given to us by society, by thinking about what we should be versus what we are? And I think that is when that shift truly happened into thinking of, I am happy with what I am. I am happy with how I look, and no matter what you say, it's not going to change. I would say a total acceptance of my physical body happened during my first pregnancy in 2021. I wanted to send positive thoughts to my baby inside, and realized that if I was not happy with how I was growing, then how can I send happy thoughts to the baby? So what I started to do was, feel nice about myself. And before I knew it, I was actually, that was the way that I was feeling. By the time the pregnancy ended, and we went through the first few months of having a newborn in our lives and the chaos that brings in, and I started exercising about 4 or 5 months post delivery. I suddenly realized that, hey, I'm not disliking myself. Even at my chubbiest post pregnancy, when I looked into the mirror, I didn't have a voice mocking me saying, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the ugliest of them all?" And to me, that became the pinnacle of knowing that I am okay with who I am. I know I may have certain parts of myself that I don't like, but I also know that there are things that I can do, that I can make to change them. While I don't believe that, physical beauty or the way we look should be very important, The truth of it is a very integral part of our confidence, of our self-esteem. And what I've noticed from my work and from my experiences is that if we don't like how we look, there are very high chances that we don't like who we are. And that is where, the importance of our looks comes in. We live in this world where it's all about perceptions, where no matter how hard we may try, we are influenced by what others say around us. We may wear certain clothes because XYZ is wearing it, or we just do something because they are doing it. It may not be because we want it. So I think it's very important that we all look into ourselves, and I'm really glad that I have spent these years working on myself and looking at what I truly want. And even though in the physical aspect of it, right? I'm glad I did not bow down to the pressure of waxing the hair on my arms and legs, or tweezing my eyebrows, or wearing makeup, or wearing whatever clothes are trendy at this point. I think I'm just happy being comfortable, being who I am, and doing what I want to do. This acceptance of my looks, I think, has been a really important journey and a huge learning for me, that we can do it by ourselves. We don't have to be worried about external pressures and what someone else thinks of. Let's remember, it's about perception. It's physical beauty is the eye of the beholder, like I said earlier, but more importantly, physical beauty is what we want for ourselves. And if we don't like something, let's make a change to it, but let's also accept what we have. The journey of learning to love, my physical self is not a new one. A lot of people go through it. But the reason I'm talking about it here is to reiterate that, we can learn to love ourselves just as we are and not have to make too many changes. And also the fact that the journey can take a long time. In some cases like mine, it can be a few years. But if we persist and work hard on ourselves, on accepting ourselves, it's truly worth it. Because it's an amazing feeling to look into that mirror, to say, mirror, mirror on the wall, I love you for who you are. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.